Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to go a little deeper. Today we're tackling Atomic Habits. You know, that book by James Clear.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
It's chock full of good stuff about habits, how they work, how to change them, all that.
Definitely.
So we're going deep, trying to really pull out those actionable insights so you can, actually put these ideas to work.
Sounds good.
One of the first things that really hit me was this whole plateau of latent potential thing.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever felt like you're putting in the work, learning a new skill, or trying to change a habit?
All the time.
It's like nothing's happening.
Yeah, totally. You're like, am I even doing this right?
Right. Like, is this even worth it? But then Clear, he uses this analogy, right? He compares it to, like, melting an ice cube. You've got this ice cube, and you're applying heat, and for a while, nothing seems to be happening.
Right, just sits there.
Yeah, it just sits there. But then, suddenly, boom, it's not ice anymore, it's water, right?
Exactly. It changes.
And the point is, all that heat, all that effort you were putting in, it wasn't wasted.
It was building up to something.
Exactly. It was all building up to that transformation.
That's a good way to think about it.
And I think that's so encouraging because, we hear all these stories about overnight successes.
Oh, yeah, right.
But the truth is, those are usually anything but overnight, right?
Yeah, there's usually a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see.
Exactly. Years, maybe even decades of consistent effort that led up to that overnight moment.
It's like the tip of the iceberg,
Totally. So it's
Yeah.
not about, like, some big dramatic change overnight.
It's the small stuff, right?
It's about the small, consistent habits, those little things we do day after day.
Those are what really add up over time.
Yeah, and Clear talks about how habits are like the compound interest of self-improvement.
Love that analogy.
Right. It's like you're not going to get rich overnight by investing a few dollars.
No, but over time.
But if you consistently invest, even small amounts, over time, it grows.
Exactly. It compounds.
And that's how habits work. Those small changes, they compound into big results.
Powerful stuff.
So then the question becomes, how do we actually change our habits? How do we become, like, the best versions of ourselves?
The million-dollar question.
Right. And Clear says something really interesting. He says, habits are the path to changing your identity.
Interesting.
It's not just about what you do. It's about who you believe you are.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Like, let's say you want to be a writer. Every time you sit down and write, even if it's just for a few minutes,
You're acting like a writer.
you're not just putting words on a page. You're casting a vote for a writer in the election of your identity.
That's a cool way to think about it. You're kind of building that evidence, right?
Right. Like you're proving to yourself, hey, I'm the kind of person who writes.
And the more you do it, the more you believe it.
Exactly. And then it's not so much forcing yourself to write.
It's like you just become a writer.
You become a writer. It's just part of who you are.
Okay, so that's how we change our identity. But how do we actually change the habits themselves?
Well, that's where Clear's 4 laws of behavior change come in.
Yeah. Love this framework.
It's like a practical toolkit, right? You can use it to start building better habits, like today.
Totally. And it's not some complicated thing. It's actually pretty straightforward.
Right. So, law number 1, make it obvious.
This one's all about awareness,
Like, you got to know what your habits even are before you can change them.
Exactly. Clear talks about creating a habits scorecard.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. It's basically just writing down all your habits, good and bad.
Interesting. So you can see them all right there in front of you.
Right. And it's amazing how just that act of writing them down can be so powerful.
It's like you're bringing those unconscious behaviors into the light.
Exactly. You're making them conscious, and then you can start to make choices about them.
It's like decluttering your mind. Okay, law number 2, make it attractive.
This one's all about dopamine, that feel-good chemical in our brains.
Ooh, yes. Dopamine. I like where this is going.
Right. And here's the thing. It's not just about the reward itself.
It's the anticipation, right?
Yes. It's that like, ooh, I can't wait for this feeling.
That's like craving that piece of chocolate cake. It's not just about the taste, it's the thought of it that makes you want it.
Exactly. And we can use this to our advantage with something called temptation bundling.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this. It's like only letting yourself watch your favorite show while you're on the treadmill.
Yes. You're linking something you need to do with something you want to do.
Genius. Okay, law number 3.
Make it easy.
Make it easy. Love that. Sounds like my motto.
Right. It's all about reducing friction.
Friction. Like, what do you mean?
So the easier it is to do something, the more likely you are to actually do it, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Our brains are lazy. They want to conserve energy.
Oh, tell me about it.
So if a habit requires a ton of effort, we're way less likely to stick with it.
It's like instead of trying to force yourself to go to the gym every day after work when you're exhausted, find a way to work out this, more convenient, more enjoyable.
Exactly. Like maybe you join a gym that's on your way home from work, or you find a workout buddy who makes it more fun.
Yeah, or maybe you just start with some small changes like taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
Little things like that can make a big difference.
For sure. Okay, and then law number 4, make it satisfying. This one I think is where a lot of people get tripped up.
Yeah, I agree, because it's easy to get caught up in that delayed gratification trap.
Oh, tell me about it. Like, you're working towards this big goal, and you're so focused on the end result that you forget to enjoy the journey.
Right, and our brains are wired for instant gratification.
Oh, yeah. We want those rewards, and we want them now.
Exactly, but the problem is most of the things worth having in life take time.
That's true.
So we have to find ways to make the process itself rewarding.
That's where I think those immediate rewards come in.
Right, exactly. Like maybe you treat yourself to a nice dinner after a week of healthy eating, or...
Ooh, or like a new book after you finish a really challenging one.
Exactly. Those small rewards, they act as positive reinforcement, making you more likely to repeat the habit in the future.
It's like you're training your brain to crave those good habits.
Precisely. And one thing we haven't touched on yet is how important it is to find what works for you.
Oh, yeah, everyone's different.
Right. What works for one person might not work for another, and that's totally fine.
So, like, some people might thrive on routine and structure, while others need more flexibility.
Exactly. And some people are motivated by external rewards like praise from others, while others are more internally motivated.
So it's all about figuring out what makes you tick.
And that's where that concept of the explore-exploit trade-off comes in. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah. That's when you, experiment with different habits and see what sticks. Right.
Exactly. In the beginning, you want to explore different options. Try on different hats and see which one fits best.
I like that analogy. Try on different hats.
And then once you found a few things that seem promising, that's when you shift into exploit mode.
So you go all in, you commit.
You double down on those habits, you refine them, and you make them an integral part of your life.
It's like finding your groove and then really owning it.
Precisely. And one final thing I want to mention is the importance of accountability.
Oh, yeah. Having someone to keep you on track can be huge.
Right. It's like having a workout buddy. It's much harder to skip the gym when you know someone's waiting for you.
Or like a writing group where you have to share your work every week.
Exactly. And Clear talks about this fascinating example in the book about the LA Lakers basketball team. They implemented this system called Career Best Effort, where players track their performance in key areas and held each other accountable.
Interesting, and it worked.
It did. They ended up having one of their most successful seasons ever.
Wow, so even pro athletes need accountability.
Everyone does. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today. Any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway here is that building better habits, it's a journey, not a destination. It's about making small, consistent changes over time and finding what works for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. So start small, stay consistent, and don't be afraid to experiment until you find what truly resonates with you.
And remember, those small changes can lead to remarkable results over time.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into atomic habits, everyone. We'll catch you next time.